Okay, so to start this video, I originally planned to open with a joke about anime, because that's what I assumed Avatar was, in a similar sense to how Teen Titans were, where it's an anime, but it's made by Americans, so it doesn't really count. However, when I started watching this show, I very quickly came to the conclusion that Avatar is not an anime. While it does have anime-like qualities, and even the concept of the show is very weeaboo-like, the style is just way too Americanized, and it feels more like a cartoon than it does an anime. Now, initially, my intention was to upload this video before it appeared on Netflix, because I have the complete series on DVD, so with it dropping on Netflix on May 15th, I basically had a near-month advantage, and then God struck me with lightning. What? NANI?! So, I basically had the entire video done, and my computer busted. So right now you're watching this made completely from square one on my new laptop, probably in time for quarters release. Now apparently I was the only person who didn't watch Avatar when it was on Nickelodeon, so I had no idea what I was getting into. It is surprisingly popular. Avatar came out in 2005, airing on Nickelodeon until about 2008. It got 3 full seasons, a terrible M. Night movie, a spin-off TV show, and it's getting a live-action reboot on Netflix, which is why they're getting all these streaming rights. But now, on to the show. After one of the most iconic cartoon intros of all time.
Water, earth, fire, air. My grandmother used to tell me stories about the old days, a time of peace, when the Avatar kept balance. That all changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Only the Avatar, master of all 4 elements, could stop them, but when his niggas needed him most, he vanished.
100 years have passed, and the Fire Nation is nearing victory in the war. 2 years ago, my father and the men of my tribe journeyed to the Earth Kingdom to help fight against the Fire Nation, leaving me and my brother to look after our tribe. Some people believe that the Avatar was never reborn into the air nomads, and that the cycle is broken. But I haven't lost hope.
But I believe Mark can save the hood.
The show sets up their main characters, Katara and her brother Sokka, who, as stated in the intro, were instructed by their dad to look after their tribe while he goes and fights the war. So the first thing we see them do is leave their tribe. Both of them leave the tribe to catch fish. Why did both of them need to leave? Honestly, it's never even explained. This is just a plot device to get the show going. They don't even catch any fish, so I'm pretty sure their tribe's starved. Because if both of them are the only ones who can catch fish, and they leave, so, you know, the show can happen, then who is catching fish after they left? And if they weren't the only ones who could catch fish, why did both of them go? Because if they both die, now their tribe has no leader. Also, why did the dad take all the men? Like, you wouldn't leave a few just in case some bad shit happens, you know, Anyway, Sokka attempts to catch a fish, and that is when it's revealed that Katara is a waterbender. We learn this when she catches a fish in a water bubble, which then pops, soaks Sokka, and then he gives us a little expedition on bending. Honestly, I think Sokka's a little bitch. My theory is that he's jealous of his sister's waterbending abilities because, you know, he's got, like, what, boomerang and a stick? So what's really interesting to me is how taboo Sokka seems to consider bending. Every time Katara attempts to waterbend, he constantly berates her, and it could be taken as a brother-sister type thing. And even later, when the Avatar appears and starts airbending, he is equally turned off by this. Again, almost as if he doesn't believe. It just confuses me that he's so whatever about her powers. And I think he's doing that because he's jealous that he doesn't have any abilities. Anyways, after they tumble down the rapid river, proof both of them shouldn't have gone together in the first place, they land on an ice block, where Katara says something that I really wasn't expecting in a kid's show. NANI?! Now, it's not necessarily surprising to see this on a kid's show, but it is surprising in terms of them calling it out by name. Anyways, in her anger, Katara uses her abilities and breaks the glacier behind her, revealing within the glacier a glowing bubble. And then... Also, there's this weird shot of like these seal cat things. I like what the show does with animals, we'll talk about it more later, but it's just very creative, I think. Now, after this, we cut to our first look at the Fire Nation. So, of course, the Fire Nation being the bad guys, the main Fire Nation guy, Prince Zuko, has to have an evil mark on his face. This being a burn mark right around his left eye. Bit on the nose there, Nickelodeon. Just a little bit on the nose. We are also introduced to Zuko's uncle, who rather I wasn't listening or we just don't learn his name yet. Either way, he's my favorite character of the show so far. Although I am low-key scared that later he's going to do something evil and we're all going to hate him. But anyways, Mr. Fire Nation makes the ship go towards the glowing light as he is claimed to have found the Avatar. Also, can we appreciate the irony of a fire navy? Like, I don't know if that was done on purpose or maybe I'm just thinking about it too much, but that's funny to me. Now, coming back to our main protagonist, we are introduced to Aang and Appa. Aang being the Airbender, and Appa his flying bison. And throughout this scene where the main characters get to know each other, Aang and Katara give each other looks and stuff, and at first I thought this show was going for like a sibling route with them, mostly because they're like 6, but it does seem that they're going in a more romantic route, which I don't know how I feel about that if I'm being completely honest, but we'll just have to wait and see. Anyways, after some Fire Nation expedition helping us learn why Zuko wants the Avatar and some foreshadowing about how Aang got in the ice in the first place, we wake up in the Water Tribe, where Katara introduces Aang to the entire village of 19 people and a dog. Anyways, Sokka and Katara's grandmother, and the Grand, gives us a little more expedition and basically explains that the last Airbender hasn't been seen for over 100 years, and they're mostly, if not entirely, extinct. Then we get a little expedition about how airbending works, and Sokka and Aang both make fool of themselves. Then a quick cut to the Fire Navy boat where Zuko is training. We get a cliche argument about how he needs to get stronger, and his uncle's like, no, you gotta master the basics, and you know, blah blah blah. There's really no point to the scene other than to show kind of the relationship between Zuko and his uncle, and to show that Zuko is still not a great firebender, he's still training. Now cutting back to the Water Tribe where Sokka is trying to teach young children how to fight in case of a Fire Nation attack. After a while it is then revealed that Aang doesn't know anything about this war, but this conversation is easily avoided by a penguin. So Katara catches up with Aang in a scene followed by a little more expedition, explaining that the reason Katara doesn't have great control over her powers is that she is the only waterbender in the entire South Pole, because you know there's like 6 of them. And apparently, there's only one other tribe all the way on the other side at the North Pole, and whoever decided to split up the tribes like that is stupid. So she asks Aang to be her teacher, and he admits that he probably couldn't teach her too much, because he's an airbender and she's water, but that he'll try his best, and he'll even take her to the North Pole on his flying bison, as long as she goes penguin sledding with him. They agree and go sledding, and I don't know if this is something that everyone does or if they're just being teenage delinquents. Either way, it doesn't matter too much since I don't think PETA exists. Anyways, their sledding lands them into an old Fire Navy warship, which is actually from the very first Fire Nation attack over 100 years ago. They go explore the ship even though Katara explicitly says how she knows that they're not supposed to. Anyways, Aang is still confused as he hasn't heard anything about this war, as we teased earlier, but this time there are no penguins to distract us from the secret that is... So after discovering that Aang and Grand went to the same elementary school together, they leave contemplating life, and accidentally set off a booby trap that for some reason still works after 100 years in ice and snow and wetness. This causes the Fire Nation to not only find Aang, but also the water village, and then... So obviously I immediately watched the next episode because, you know, So starting off episode 2, Aang and Katara get back to the tribe, and obviously since everyone saw the flare, they were all very upset. Particularly due to the fact that Aang is a stranger, and strangers setting off enemy booby traps is not a particularly good look. So collectively, as a village, they decide to ban Aang. Katara threatens to leave with him and go to the North Pole to meet more waterbenders. Aang convinces Katara to stay, they say their goodbyes, and him and Appa leave. Katara, rightfully mad, storms off, and then we cut to Aang and Appa chilling on a rock when they see
tippy toes creeping around like no one knows. Think you
Aang goes to warn the village, but tells Appa to stay for some reason, because why would you want to warn them early? This is then followed by a cool montage scene between Sokka and Zuko preparing for a fight. So Zuko and some guards step off the ship, and Sokka gets whacked almost immediately. Zuko then asks where the Avatar is, but does it incredibly vaguely for some reason, and also says that the person he's looking for would be as old as Grand. Sokka then attempts to attack again, but he really needs to stop yelling because he's just giving himself away. They do fight for a little bit, and Sokka does hold his own. And just as he's about to die, Aang comes sliding down on a penguin and knocks Zuko down. Then we get the obvious reveal that Aang is the Avatar, and it's confusing me because Sokka acts like this is a big deal, but he doesn't care about his sister's waterbending abilities. Like, it doesn't make logical sense. So Caillou and the Human Torch fight for a bit, and fight I mean mostly the fire guy missing his huge ass target. Like, there's literally an arrow on his head. Why can you not shoot him? It's right there. Now Aang, being a good guy, decides to turn himself in to protect everyone else at the village, and Aang leaves with the Fire Nation. After Aang leaves, Katara rants about how they need to go save Aang, and she'll go alone if she has to, and blah blah blah. Meanwhile, Sokka has already made a boat with supplies and stuff. This scene is followed up by this line, which definitely makes me think we're going into a romantic type situation rather than brother-sister relationship, which I honestly think I would have preferred the brother-sister relationship. Now granted, this is only the second episode, so who knows. Gran catches them leaving, and they think they're in trouble. Gran actually helps them because she knows that the Avatar is the only person who can stop this war. She does mention that they'll never catch them on the little ass boat that Sokka made, and conveniently Appa appears. So Aang, being the protagonist, escapes from his capture of the Fire Navy.
Well, it's gonna be tough for him to get out of that situation. Actually, it's gonna be super easy, barely an inconvenience.
And hides in a room on the ship, which just so happens to be Zuko's room. They have a pretty cool fight scene between the two, and it ends with Zuko actually getting completely wrecked. It's really awesome. Now, this is the big climax of the beginning pilot, so everything is happening at once. Aang almost flies away, but Zuko catches up to him and yeets him down, and Appa appears, more fighting. Aang gets thrown into the water, all hope is lost, eyes glow, he becomes water Jesus. Aang does some airbending, stops the boat from going away, and they all ride off into the sunset. Now in this last scene, we get a little more expedition on why Aang wanted his avatariness to be kept a secret. And then basically the show sets itself up for the next 3 years. All in all, this is a relatively good show. The concept is very creative, it doesn't take a whole lot to understand, because it's a kid's show, but there's definitely lore and character building, allowing a grown audience to enjoy it just as well as a younger one. I'm pretty sure we'll find their father at some point and get answers to what happened to Aang prior to the war. I understand why there's a following behind this. It just has a naturally catchy vibe. Like, as I was watching it, I watched episode 1 and 2, and then I just wanted to continue, which is why I ended up watching the rest of the show without even doing any videos, just because it was genuinely that enjoyable. But I'll only be talking about the most important episodes, or at least the episodes that I feel are important story-wise or character-wise. Definitely season finales and premieres, unless they're like super boring. So if you want to hear me talk about the show, make sure you subscribe, make sure you leave a like, make sure you leave a comment. Tell me if you have any episodes that you want me to talk about specifically, or if you didn't like it, just tell me what a piece of shit I am in the comments. I really don't care. I actually already know what episode I'm going to be talking about next. Hopefully that'll be out in about 2 weeks-ish. Hopefully before Christmas comes around I'll have it out. Also look at my other channel, it's a gaming channel. I've actually uploaded 2 videos on there by this point, maybe even 3. But anyways, until next time, My name is Dion, and I'm out.